$25.6 million. Gone. 75 minutes. From a corporate bank account, authorized by a senior finance director, 12 years experience, multiple security certifications, who never realized the CFO on that video call wasn't real. This is the largest documented corporate deepfake heist in history. And before this video ends, I'm going to show you the exact 7-step pattern these attackers used, including one technique in the 11-minute mark that defeats standard two-factor authentication. But first, you need to see how a trained professional with over a decade of experience transferred $25 million. Because he did everything right, and it still wasn't enough. February 4th, 2024, Hong Kong, a multinational corporation, finance department, month-end closing, board presentation deadline, multiple high-priority projects running simultaneously. The senior finance director sits at his desk. Nothing about this day feels unusual. Emails, meetings, approvals, standard Tuesday. An email arrives. Sender, the company's UK-based CFO. Domain matches perfectly. Subject line, confidential acquisition, immediate action required. The message is professional, brief, urgent, but not panic. Minutes later, the phone rings. A video conference invitation. It's the CFO's meeting link. The finance director joins the call. And there he is, the CFO on video. Multiple other colleagues visible in the meeting too. The voice, perfect match. Timbre, cadence. The slight pause before he says, "Look." The emphasis on specific words. Even the breathing patterns between sentences. We need to execute 15 transfers for this acquisition. Time sensitive. Legal window closing. I need you to process these immediately. The finance director has processed these requests before. Cross-border acquisitions. Multiple tranches. Confidential deals before public disclosure. This follows the pattern of legitimate high-stakes transactions. The transfers begin. 15 consecutive wire transfers to multiple accounts in Hong Kong, each one authorized, each one executed according to what appear to be legitimate instructions. But wait, before I show you what happened next, you need to understand something about the technology they used. Because in the 4-minute mark, I'm going to show you how accessible this technology is. And when you hear the price, you'll understand why this is spreading. But here's where something breaks. And this is what I need you to watch carefully. The transfers complete. $25.6 million. Moved across 15 separate transactions. Done. And here's where the pattern breaks. But I'll come back to what exposed this fraud in the 8-minute mark. Because first, you need to understand the technology. Because what these attackers did, it's available right now to anyone. So how does this actually work? Voice cloning first. And this is simpler than you think. Attackers need audio. How much? As little as 10 to 30 seconds for basic cloning. Though 30 seconds to 3 minutes produces more convincing results with better prosody and intonation, the natural rhythm and melody of speech. Where do they get it? Everywhere. Earnings calls, conference keynotes, internal training videos on LinkedIn, industry panel discussions, that presentation your CFO gave at the shareholder meeting, downloaded, processed, analyzed. That audio feeds into a neural vocoder, a deep learning system that converts acoustic features into high-fidelity audio waveforms. The AI analyzes pitch contour, breathing noise, dynamic prosody, how the person emphasizes words, where they pause naturally. Speech patterns under stress versus calm delivery. Stop. Let me show you something. The technology generates speech in real time. Attackers type a sentence. The AI speaks it in your executive's voice, including emotional inflection, urgency, authority, confidence, panic, whatever the situation requires. And the cost? $5 to $20 per month. Subscription services. Anyone can access them. Now here's the part that defeats your current security training. Deepfake video generation starts with corporate headshots, previous video interviews, shareholder meetings, any footage where the executive's face appears clearly. Attackers use GPU acceleration, graphics processing power, to replace the face in real time during a video call. The technology examines pixel inconsistencies, facial landmark artifacts, blending errors. Then it corrects them. Live. During the call. But deepfakes aren't perfect. Not yet. So they hide imperfections strategically. Low resolution, bad bandwidth, frame drops, connection issues, background blur, default zoom settings, slight lag in facial movements, international call delay. The video quality is just bad enough that imperfections look like technical problems, not fraud. Hold on. This gets worse. What I'm about to tell you next is why even your two-factor authentication won't stop this. I'll show you exactly how they bypass it in the 11-minute mark. But first, you need to see how this attack ended. But here's the critical fusion, and this is what makes these attacks nearly undetectable. AI handles identity, perfect voice, convincing face, multiple colleagues in the video conference, all deepfakes. But social engineering handles compliance pressure. Authority bias activates immediately. The CFO is calling. Your boss? The person who approves your performance reviews? The executive you trust? Hierarchical pressure to comply. Time pressure bias layers on top. Window closing. Legal deadline. Acquisition target getting nervous. Your brain shifts from analysis mode to execution mode. And that's exactly what attackers need. Corporate culture normalizes urgent executive requests. High-dollar transfers are routine in multinational corporations. Internal protocols vary per project. The behavioral cues, tone, vocabulary, company jargon, all feel authentic because attackers researched this specific company. Cross-border settlement. Timing window. Vendor escrow. Legal documentation follows. These aren't generic phrases. They're the exact terminology this company uses. And this is why trained professionals fall for it. The attack doesn't exploit technical ignorance. It exploits organizational trust. The trust that makes companies function efficiently becomes the vulnerability that enables fraud. Remember I said something broke the pattern? Here's what happened. Shortly after the transfers completed, the real CFO contacted the company. Unrelated matter. Routine follow-up on a different project. The finance director mentions the acquisition transfers. The CFO's response: what acquisition? What transfers? I never made that call. The finance director's stomach drops. Immediate investigation. Email forensics. The video conference was initiated from a spoofed account. Security team pulls the transfer destinations. Multiple accounts in Hong Kong. None match any prior corporate vendor. Zero transaction history with the company. Hong Kong police move fast. accounts frozen, international cooperation activated, some funds intercepted before they could be moved to secondary accounts. But not all of them. Forensics confirms what everyone now realizes: AI voice synthesis, deepfake video, multiple deepfake colleagues in that conference call. The CFO never made that call, never sent those emails, never appeared on that video screen. But here's what no one tells you about cases like this. I'll tell you how much they recovered at the end. But first, you need to see the pattern. Because this wasn't random. This follows a blueprint. And pattern analysis across multiple documented cases reveals 7 consistent red flags. These attacks follow a predictable 7-step blueprint. And once you know this pattern, detection becomes systematic. Red flag 1. Urgent wire transfers outside normal procedures. The Hong Kong case. 15 consecutive transfers. No procurement approval. No legal documentation review phase. No compliance sign-off. Standard acquisition protocols completely bypassed. One question would have stopped it. Can we process this through our standard approval workflow? Because legitimate acquisitions, even urgent ones, have checkpoints. Any "this must happen now" language around financial transfers is a structural red flag. Legitimate time-sensitive deals still have documentation trails. If there's truly an urgent window, lawyers are involved. Compliance is already briefed. The finance director is the last step in the process, not the first. Red flag 2. Bypassing approval workflows. Legal doesn't need to see this yet. Keep this between us until the announcement. Don't loop compliance. In the Hong Kong case, the attackers specifically instructed the finance director to process transfers without looping in standard approval channels. They framed it as maintaining acquisition confidentiality. But what they were really doing? Isolating the target. Attackers know approval workflows are the primary defense. Their goal? Isolation. One approver. One point of failure. No second opinions. Red flag. 3. Communication only via phone or video, avoiding in-person confirmation. The Hong Kong finance director never questioned why the CFO chose a video conference instead of an in-person meeting. Both were in Hong Kong. The CFO's office was in the same business district, a 10-minute drive. But the deepfake CFO claimed to be coordinating from multiple locations with the acquisition team. Made sense in the moment, except the real CFO was sitting in his Hong Kong office, 3 miles away. That's the question that would have stopped everything. Can we meet in person to sign off on this? Deepfake technology can't walk into your office. Executives who normally send written instructions suddenly demanding verbal-only authorization, especially when they're supposedly in the building or easily reachable through normal channels. Ask yourself, if this is urgent enough to require immediate action, why can't they meet you in person? Red flag 4. Extreme time pressure tactics. Window closes in 20 minutes. Competitor is making an offer. Legal deadline tonight. Acquisition target getting nervous. Stop. This is important. Time pressure should trigger increased scrutiny, not reduced scrutiny. The Hong Kong attackers used acquisition timing pressure, competitors circling, legal window closing, all designed to shift the finance director's thinking from, "Should I verify this?" to, "I need to execute this now." Legitimate urgent requests can wait 60 minutes for verification. Fraudulent requests cannot. Stop for a second. We're 4 red flags in, and here's what terrifies security experts. The finance director who lost $25.6 million, he saw at least 3 of these flags and still proceeded. Red flag 5 is the one that should have stopped everything. Red flag 5. Transfers to accounts with no prior transaction history. In the Hong Kong case, all 15 transfer destinations were accounts the company had never used before. New intermediary banks. No prior vendor relationship. No vetting process. New vendors require documentation. New banking relationships require compliance approval. A confidential acquisition using 15 never-before-seen accounts? That's not confidentiality. That's a red flag parade. Red flag 6. Instructions that directly contradict written protocols. Corporate security policies exist for exactly this scenario. When someone asks you to violate policy, they're either legitimate and will provide proper override authorization, or they're a threat actor, banking on hierarchical obedience. In the Hong Kong case, standard company policy required dual authorization for transfers over certain thresholds. The attackers specifically instructed the finance director to bypass this protocol. I'm authorizing this at the executive level. Process immediately. Policy violations should trigger escalation, not compliance. Red flag 7. Insistence on no paper trail. Verbal authorization only. Don't document this in email. We'll formalize everything after the transfer. Documentation follows once the acquisition closes. In the Hong Kong case, the Deepfake CFO specifically said, "We'll formalize documentation once the acquisition closes. Legal will handle paperwork on the back end. Right now, we need to move." The finance director documented the transfers in the system, but no email authorization, no signed approval, no paper trail linking the request to the executive. Just verbal instructions from a video call. When investigators tried to trace the authorization, nothing. No documentation existed proving the real CFO requested those transfers. That's not efficiency. That's intentional elimination of evidence. Financial institutions run on documentation. Audit trails protect both the company and the employees executing transactions. Absence of documentation isn't efficiency. It's elimination of evidence. FBI analysis of business email, compromise attacks enhanced with deepfake technology, shows these 7 flags appear in combination across documented cases. 1 flag might be legitimate urgency. 3 flags together? Stop the transaction. Call the executive through a different channel. So what's the defense? 7 verification protocols that break the attack chain. And here's that technique I mentioned that defeats 2-factor authentication. Protocol 1. Multi-channel verification. If a request arrives via video conference, confirm through a separate, independent channel. Internal messaging to a different executive. Phone call to the requesting executive's known directory number. In-person confirmation if they're on site. Here's why this defeats even sophisticated attacks. Attackers can spoof email. They can clone voices. They can generate deepfake video for an entire conference call with multiple participants. But they can't control multiple independent channels simultaneously. When you call back to the CFO's directory number and they say, "I never made that request," the attack fails. That's the moment $25 million stays in the account. Protocol 2. Pre-established verification questions. Not safe words. Questions. Personal details only the real executive would know from recent internal events. What was the name of the client we met last Tuesday? Which project did legal flag in yesterday's meeting? What's the internal code name for the Singapore expansion? Attackers can clone voices and faces. They can research public information about executives, but they can't clone memories of specific internal conversations from this week. Protocol 3. Callback verification to directory numbers only. Never trust the incoming call number. Ever. Caller ID is spoofed in 70 to 80% of corporate fraud attempts. That means 4 out of 5 times. The number you see is fake. Hang up. Open the corporate directory. Call the executive's listed number. If they answer and confirm the request, proceed. If they're confused about what you're talking about, you just stopped a fraud attempt. Protocol 4. In-person or verified device confirmation for high-value transactions. Set internal thresholds. 10 million. 25 million. Whatever makes sense for your organization. Above that threshold, require physical verification or video confirmation from a device you know belongs to that executive. Not a Zoom link they send you, not a conference call they initiate, a call you initiate to their known, verified device, from their office, with video that shows their actual office environment that you recognize. Protocol 5. Dual authorization requirements for unusual requests. 1 approver equals 1 point of failure. 2 independent approvals from different departments break most deepfake attack chains. Finance approves the technical execution. Compliance verifies the authorization is legitimate. Both independently confirm with the requesting executive through separate channels. If both channels confirm, proceed. If there's any discrepancy, immediate halt. Wait, before Protocol 6, here's what security experts have documented. When organizations implement just 2 of these protocols together, they dramatically reduce successful deepfake fraud attempts. Not all 7, just 2. Dual authorization combined with multi-channel verification. Financial institutions report this combination stops the vast majority of deepfake payment fraud before losses occur. Protocol 6. Mandatory waiting periods when urgency is claimed. Make urgency itself a triggering signal. Not for speed up, for slowdown. Counterintuitive, but critical. Urgent requests get additional scrutiny, not reduced scrutiny. A 60-minute verification delay won't kill a legitimate deal. It will kill a fraud attempt. Because attackers need you to act before verification can happen. The Hong Kong case? A 1-hour delay for verification would have saved $25 million. Now here's the critical part. This last protocol is what law enforcement and financial regulators consistently cite as a critical defense. Multiple financial institutions have documented how deepfake awareness training enabled employees to recognize and halt fraud attempts before any losses occurred. Most companies skip this one. Don't skip it. Protocol 7. Regular deepfake awareness training. Finance teams need to see what modern deepfakes look and sound like. Not theoretical descriptions. Actual demonstrations. Show them AI-generated voices. Show them real-time face replacement. Show them how convincing this technology is. Employees who've seen deepfakes in training recognize them faster when they appear in actual attacks. Training programs exist. No B4, Proofpoint, Microsoft Defender for Identity. The cost of training is negligible compared to the cost of a successful attack. These protocols don't require expensive technology. They require organizational discipline, the willingness to slow down when urgency is weaponized, the understanding that verification isn't distrust, it's protection. The Hong Kong finance director followed his training. He verified the CFO appeared on video, multiple colleagues visible, but he didn't have protocols for deepfake-era threats. Didn't call back to a known number, didn't verify through a second channel, didn't question why 15 transfers bypassed standard approval workflows. Those gaps? $25.6 million. Now, remember that number I promised you? How much they recovered from the $25.6 million theft? $19.7 million out of $25.6 million. Hong Kong police froze accounts. International cooperation intercepted funds before they moved to secondary accounts. Fast response, quick coordination. But $5.9 million? Gone. Laundered. Moved through cryptocurrency. Distributed across jurisdictions. Untraceable. 77% recovered. But only because the real CFO happened to contact the company within hours. Only because law enforcement moved fast. Only because accounts were frozen before the money disappeared completely. Most companies aren't that lucky. Most companies don't have that timing. Most companies don't get a second chance. The finance director who authorized those transfers, he followed his training. He did what he was trained to do. The problem? His training was designed for 2020 threats, not 2024 threats. If you manage corporate funds, these deepfake attacks are not theoretical. They're documented. The technology is improving. The social engineering is getting more sophisticated. The attack frequency is increasing. This channel breaks down high-level fraud tactics, targeting professionals, not consumers. Case analysis backed by verified sources. Red flag pattern recognition. The defensive protocols companies are implementing right now to protect against these attacks. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the threat actors, because the next video call might include a deepfake CFO. And you need to know the difference.